am reacting to your Monday Night Raw Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether those are good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you follow me on X because I ask for your hot takes after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every single WWE Premium Live event. And don't forget that I've already uploaded my nearly 30-minute review of this episode of Monday Night Raw with footage so you can see exactly what I'm talking about frame by frame over on patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, we upload so much more extra content like the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, and so much more that never gets uploaded here to YouTube. So go check it out. Patreon.com/SantiZap. Link in the description as well as a link in the pinned comment for you. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm incredibly confident that you're going to fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, folks, let's read your stupid shit. AJ Styles versus Braun Breaker needs to happen at WrestleMania 41. It would be a 5-star match. So I'm already married to this. This is what I need at WrestleMania. It might happen before then, but if I'm being honest with you, when I look at the rest of the Intercontinental Championship landscape and who else could potentially be involved in there, I don't think that it gets better in terms of star power and in-ring potential than AJ Styles versus Braun Breaker. Sure, you could bring in Sheamus into the picture, Penta into the picture, Ludwig Kaiser if you really want to, but Braun Breaker versus AJ Styles is a far more appealing match for both AJ Styles and for Braun Breaker than any of those other guys, if you ask me. I would love the idea for Sheamus to be chasing his Grand Slam opportunity, but I would rather just see the best match available, and in my opinion, right now, that is AJ Styles versus Cowboy Braun Breaker. Not only would this be great for Braun Breaker and easily Braun Breaker's biggest match of his entire WWE career, but this would also be a great spotlight to have AJ Styles in, because when I look at all of the other divisions that AJ Styles could potentially fit in, there's just too much going on. But the Intercontinental Championship picture, you have a rising champion and you have the opportunity to make that rising champion into the next main event star. To me, that sounds like a very appealing prospect if I'm an AJ Styles that's about to end his career sometime soon. So give it to me, AJ, Braun Breaker. Don't overthink this. Don't put this at Elimination Chamber. For the love of God, don't put this on a random episode of Monday Night Raw. I'm looking at you, Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky. Put this at WrestleMania. Jey versus Gunther is going to be tough for me to get behind. I've got a feeling it will be a kick and a chop fest. I'm on board, and I'm mostly on board because I have to be on board because it's no longer speculation. We are getting Jey Uso versus Gunther at WrestleMania, and at some point or another, everyone that hates the idea of this match, you need to make peace with it because it's what we're going to get. And if you don't make peace with it, then you're gonna go into WrestleMania already hating something that you might not know that you'll end up hating or not. I say let them have their match, and if it ends up being bad, then you have all of the right on the planet to be able to torch this with your online comments. But like I said, I'm behind this because I have to be, but that doesn't mean that I am sold on the idea of this being good. I'm not sold on the idea of this being a banner headliner match at WrestleMania. The good thing, I guess you could say, is that there is a lot of time to be able to build this into a WrestleMania headliner. The problem that I have right now when I look at this potentially being a night one, or dare I say night two main event, is that I could come up with a plethora of other more intriguing options that could main event above Jey Uso versus Gunther, the likes of Cena versus Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns again, Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk. We can even look at the triple threat of Seth Rollins versus Roman versus CM Punk. Frankly, I feel like the trilogy match between Charlotte and Rhea Ripley has more star power to make that the night one main event over this. So this thing really does have an uphill battle at selling us into making this a giant headliner, because right now I see this being an opening match. But again, like I said, there is a long time to be able to build this into something that could close one of the nights. I want to like Jey Uso versus Gunther, but we just saw this like 2 weeks ago. Okay, so the more that I've been reflecting on why is it that I'm not sold on Jey Uso versus Gunther, it isn't just the fact that we've gotten the match before, because we've been down that road before. In fact, look at last year's WrestleMania when we got plenty of Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre matches, and yet somehow I was excited about the idea of Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre again at WrestleMania 40. And I feel like it's because the Drew McIntyre that we got into going into WrestleMania 40 was so different in terms terms of how vicious he was and the type of character that he was going into Mania 40 versus the matches that he had previously had in the previous months against Seth Rollins. This, unfortunately, is the same Jey Uso versus the same Gunther. But that isn't the only problem. I feel like the main problem is that the matches that we've had between Jey and Gunther haven't been particularly like that good or very memorable. They've not been bad, don't get me wrong, but not good enough where I'm like, yeah, put that at WrestleMania again in a couple of weeks, por favor. Mid-card champions should not be in qualifier matches for events like the Elimination Chamber. These champions should be having programs with their own personal championships. Seeing these champions want to fight for different belts makes it seem like they don't care as much for their belt, and they tend to lose, making them look more weak and than necessary. You know what? The way that you wrote this, I kind of see where you're coming from, and to a degree, I very much agree. However, I like the idea of having the mid-card champions actually be in the Elimination Chamber, be in the Royal Rumble, be in these big marquee championship opportunities, not because I want them to win necessarily and belittle the championship that they already have, but because I would like for them to get more exposure on a bigger stage. Big exposure does work wonders. Look at what happened with Tiffany Stratton at last year's Elimination Chamber, which is why the reason I wanted Lyra Valkyria to be in this year's Elimination Chamber. I wanted her to have her Tiffany Stratton making moment at this year's Elimination Chamber. I agree with you. They shouldn't be losing these matches. It does belittle the strength of the champion, the strength of the championship. Had Lyra won and been in the chamber and then lost in the chamber, that's a different story altogether. So me personally, I agree and disagree with you. I would have liked a mid-card champion like Lyra to be in the chamber, but I don't like the idea of them losing these qualifier matches. It does hurt them. And I get it. She lost to a legend, a Bayley. Yeah, I totally understand that argument as well, but it's a loss nonetheless, and a loss to a champion that's yet to be able to actually get off the ground running with any sort of storylines or feuds. So these losses right now just feel heavier than they ought to. Dude, I cannot believe he wrestled with that. Oh my God. NXT. Oh my God. Okay, that's insane. Nah, man, that's way too high. Oh. Good God. Dude, I forgot how nasty that was, actually. That was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, available exclusively over on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're looking at Torn Pec Cody Rhodes going up against Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell 2022. The amazing Ruthless Aggression triple threat match between The Undertaker, The Rock, and Kurt Angle at Vengeance 2002. A Ring of Honor classic between Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson, and Tyler Black, aka Seth Rollins, back in 2008. The real-life grudge match that involves affairs and whatnot between Matt Hardy and Edge at Unforgiven 2005 in a steel cage. And the Payback 2023 classic between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Judgment Day in a Steel City street fight. You're going to be getting this and more, like the Raw reviews, the SmackDown reviews, the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days earlier than everywhere else, the currently ongoing Undertaker WrestleMania match watch along, and the currently ongoing Royal Rumble match watch along as well. These are all pieces of content that we can never upload here to YouTube because of YouTube's copyright guidelines, making it just simply impossible for us to ever make it available here. So please go check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap. I'm confident that if you try it even for just 1 month, that you're going to fall in love with the insane amounts of content that we upload there every single day. If you're already a patron, thank you so much for your support, but let's get you back to the video. Gunther versus Jey is not an appealing Mania World title match, but I have faith that the week-to-week build on TV is going to be good. So this is the silver lining right here. I already kind of alluded to it. They have a lot of time. Folks, they don't just have a lot of time. They have over 2 months to make this interesting. They have over 2 months to make this good. And that to me does spell that we're going to get something substantial out of this. Something that will actually get everybody motivated to want to see this maybe close out one of the nights of WrestleMania. Now, if this match was announced, say, after Elimination Chamber, if it was announced 4 or 3 weeks before WrestleMania, I'd say that we're asking for an impossible task. But 2 months, if they can't make something interesting and something worthwhile in these 2 months, and then I don't know what the problem here is. I like the idea of these weekly beatdowns from Gunther. I do think that that will continue to add to the overall blood hatred of this feud. That's just something that I'm not feeling right now. I do want to see a more vicious, angry, pissed off Jey Uso in the coming weeks, and not just the Jey Uso that comes out and yeets for the first 10 minutes of Monday Night Raw. After tonight, it's clear that it's going to be Cody versus Cena versus Punk. At this rate, CM Punk is going to piss off everyone in the chamber, and they'll team up to eliminate him. Cena wins, and Punk cashes in his favor for a spot in the Night 2 main event. So yeah, I feel like this is on the table. Here's what's fascinating about this road to WrestleMania. Unlike last year's road to WrestleMania, I'm looking at the table and there's like a million different things. Sure, you could run Cena versus Cody versus Punk, just like you could just run Punk versus Cody, just like you could run Cena versus Cody and have Punk be part of the other triple threat match. There's a lot of things in other triple threat match. By that, I mean the other world championship match, the match between Gunther and Jey Uso. That's a possibility as well. There are so many things on the table. And that's another one of the nice silver linings of Jey Uso announcing that he's going after Gunther, because now we know what's at stake here, folks. We know that the Elimination Chamber isn't just for a world title opportunity. It's an opportunity to close night 2 of WrestleMania. The winner of the Elimination Chamber is closing out the show with Cody Rhodes. Now, all of a sudden, the stakes are significantly higher for this match. Funny enough, had the possibility of Gunther still been on the table, I feel like there would have been more possibility of outside winners like a Logan Paul, dare I say, because then yeah, Logan Paul versus Gunther, sure, why not? I could get behind that. But now that we know it's Cody, I feel like the odds of other people winning are significantly lower. Like I could pretty confidently say 0% chance that Logan Paul is going to win this Elimination Chamber, and it significantly raises the odds of the big names like Seth Rollins, like Punk, like John Cena. But yeah, fellas, the Elimination Chamber, the stakes for this have never been higher at this point. Why is Rhea versus Io on the Raw after Elimination Chamber and not at the Chamber or WrestleMania? I unfortunately smell a triple threat at Mania with the Chamber winner costing Sky the match. Yeah, I'm smelling this as well. I do foresee that this is going to be the case, especially if we have Charlotte Flair announcing that she's going to go after Tiffany Stratton before the women's Elimination Chamber match actually takes place. What I'm actually kind of sniffing out here, because of how great the chemistry has been between Io and Liv Morgan over the last couple of weeks, fellas, it's been truly fantastic how good these two wrestle with one another. Io's been getting the absolute best out of Liv, and Liv has been getting some of the best matches out of Io Sky. I could absolutely now see a world where Liv wins the Elimination Chamber and she costs Io Sky the match, thus setting up a triple threat match like Rhea versus Io versus Liv. If that's the case, I understand why they're doing this on the Raw after Elimination Chamber, because it is kind of cruddy to do a PLE match and have that PLE match end in a no contest and a DQ. That doesn't tend to land very well. And if it was at Elimination Chamber, there's not a single soul on this planet that would even believe that Rhea Ripley is going to lose to Io Sky. But with this being on Monday Night Raw, it does open the door for some crazy shenanigans that could still get my precious Io Sky into a WrestleMania world title match where she deserves to be. I absolutely love the WWE successfully keeping us in the dark where they are going to go with the Cody Rhodes main event at WrestleMania. They have so many options and believable possibilities. It's like a throwback to the 90s in a way. Yeah, so we talked about how there's just so many options on the table, and I personally love this. There's a lot of people that, and again, it's their opinion and to each his own, they're complaining that this road to WrestleMania is nowhere near as exciting as last year's road to WrestleMania. And fair enough, the build up to last year's WrestleMania was maybe one of the most unpredictable, coolest times to be a wrestling fan. That 2-3 month stretch before WrestleMania was mind-blowing, and I never expected WWE to be able to reach those heights again. But what I'm kind of seeing here is just how unpredictable things were going into WrestleMania 31, a WrestleMania that everybody thought was going to be weak, and it ended up being one of the best WrestleManias over the last 20 years. I'm hoping that maybe WrestleMania 41 ends up being one of these fantastic backdoor from out of nowhere fantastic WrestleManias. And even though the buildup can't be as hype as it was last year, I like the fog of war. I like not being able to see what's too free in front of me. I like not knowing what is around the corner. So I'm in for this, but like if we're going to compare it to last year, it's always going to be a losing effort. So try to look at it in a different light. Instead of it, not being as hype as the build up to WrestleMania 40, maybe focus on the uncertainty and the unknown in itself being something that gets you excited. Lyra is so good. She has banger matches all the time. It's crazy how little they're using her. Hopefully she'll start defending her title soon. So something that I mentioned a couple of videos ago is that the mid-card belts are in a weird position in that everyone is focusing on these world championship opportunities. That's what these past two PLE cycles have been about. The Royal Rumble, the focus to get to the WrestleMania main event, and now the road to the Elimination Chamber, which is people focused on qualifying to the chamber and then the actual chamber match, which leaves very little room for superstars to focus on other things, like Lyra Valkyria focusing on building a great legacy as a women's intercontinental champion, because she's been focused on the Royal Rumble and focused on qualifying for the Elimination Chamber. Now that she's out of the Elimination Chamber picture, maybe we can build something here. Maybe we can actually finally run this thing with Ivy Nile that I would love to see. But when I look at the landscape of the women's mid-card picture on both Raw and on SmackDown, shit's weak, fellas. Shit is very, very weak. We need more bodies. We need more people in storylines. We need more tender love and care for our women's mid-card specifically. The qualifying match between Finn Balor and Seth is going to be a curveball, and Finn Balor is going to win. Oh man, it's always just so adorable seeing Finn Balor fans in the wild. Oh man, I wish I could be as blissfully ignorant as you. Finn Balor doesn't win things. Even when you think he's gonna win, he finds a way to lose. It's the reason why he's Finn Balor. Jokes aside, it'd be kind of crazy if Finn Balor somehow pulls off the win. I guess the only way that I realistically see this is if CM Punk or Roman Reigns cost Seth Rollins this match to set up something for Seth Rollins to do at WrestleMania without involving the Elimination Chamber. That's a possibility, but I really don't see a world where Seth Rollins doesn't qualify for the Elimination Chamber right now. If they keep starting every show and every week with 10 to 12 minutes of Jey Uso yeeting, it's gonna get old really fast. I feel like WWE is just spamming the yeet button a little too much. Okay, I'm also on this camp, and I feel like such an Ebenezer Scrooge getting annoyed by how much they're spamming the yeet. Look, the yeet thing is a fun thing. I know that it's fun, but when we are 3 back-to-back episodes of Raw, SmackDown, and Raw again of the first 10 minutes of the show starting with just yeeting, it gets a little bit annoying and a little bit old. And you know what? This isn't doing Jey Uso any services with the online fans, many of which complain about Jey Uso because they say that he's only an entrance theme, an arm wave, and a word. And, well, the first 10 minutes of every show have literally just been an entrance theme, an arm wave, and a word. But now with the beatdown of Gunther, I don't think that we're going to be getting this again. I feel like the novelty of this is going to wear off. The hit my music again, I don't think it's going to happen again. Maybe if he wins after WrestleMania, we can run that back again. But yeah, let's tone it down a little bit. God, I feel like such a fucking old man. Hey, you kids keep down that yeeting till you know what time it is. I don't want Cena versus Paul as John's last WrestleMania match ever, but it's a very real possibility knowing that Paul could cost Cena at the Chamber exactly like how he cost Orton last year and Rollins the year before that, setting up both of this previous WrestleMania matches. Yup. In fact, in my last predicting WrestleMania matches video, I predicted that we were going to get John Cena versus Logan Paul. I still live and breathe in a world where I hope it's John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, John Cena, Cody versus Punk. That would be fucking sick. But I do believe that genuinely Logan Paul versus John Cena is on the table. Remember that table that we talked about that's got a bunch of different possibilities? This is one of those possibilities that's there, with John Cena being the one that eliminated Logan Paul. If Logan Paul eliminates Cena, or if Logan Paul screws Cena like you mentioned, like he did with Randy or with Seth Rollins, this very well could be the WrestleMania program. I hate it. I hate it. I really do. Will I watch it? Yes, I will, but I hate it. Ricky Starks, along with Aleister Black and Rusev, got released from AEW. Do you see some going to NXT and some going to the main roster, or all three of them going to the main roster? So not about Monday Night Raw, but all of this stuff did break out on Monday, so let's talk about it here. So out of all three of these guys, the one that I'm the most certain is going to go to the WWE is Ricky Stark. Like, this guy is so bound for WWE, it's not even funny. In fact, if I'm Ricky Starks, I'm not even looking elsewhere. If I'm Ricky Starks, I'm salivating at the idea of how WWE has treated former AEW talent that they made the majority of their North American wrestling footprint in AEW. I'm looking at how they've been treated. I look at how they've treated the likes of, for example, Ethan Page in NXT, making him an NXT champion, treating Lexus King, actually giving him TV time, actually giving him promos, making him the Heritage Cup champion. I look at how they rolled out the red carpet for Jade Cargill, now recently Penta. If I'm seeing this and I'm Ricky Starks, I don't want to go anywhere else aside from WWE, whether it's NXT or the main roster. He's going to flourish just fine wherever it is that he goes. When I started watching AEW, Ricky Starks was the first guy I fell in love with. I'm like, this is the first guy that I see as an AEW guy that is my favorite. And after that, it was like MJF, but I love Ricky Starks. Aleister Black is one of those guys that if I'm going somewhere, I'd also like to go to the WWE, but I feel like he would be more main roster. If I'm Aleister Black, I'm looking at the landscape of WWE and saying, well, Vince isn't there. He's the one that kind of botched everything that I was trying to do on the main roster. I was treated really well with Triple H in NXT Black and Gold. I was the NXT champion. Now Triple H is the one that's leading things on the main roster. Shit, yeah, let me go over there. Oh, and my wife is over there. Now Rusev, on the other hand, it's a different story. I feel like Rusev could be incredibly valuable in the mid-card, going up against the likes of Penta, against Shinsuke Nakamura, going up against LA Knight, Braun Breaker. There's so many cool things that you could do with Rusev, but Rusev, I mean, I'd be a little bit nervous as well of going to WWE because he wasn't treated well under Vince McMahon in the latter portion of his career, and he wasn't necessarily ever really pushed that well under Triple H in NXT, but I still see him eventually going to WWE either way. But yeah, it's a crazy time for free agents, and this, folks, is why we need a healthy wrestling landscape. AEW let go of a bunch of talent, WWE let go of a bunch of talent, and these talents now have so many options to go to, which is not something that you could say back in like 2012. Tag division is finally cooking, man. I used to pray for times like these. Dude, man, yes, the tag team division is finally healing. How many times have I said that we need the Raw tag team division to get the same tender love and care that they're giving to the SmackDown tag team division? The SmackDown tag team division, they figured it out. They're their whole universe. They really have this thing on autopilot now. Raw, they really needed a lot of intervention, a lot of help, and adding the likes of American Made into this, making the War Raiders the champions. Now we have the New Day being in there in the tag team ecosystem. Now we have LWO once again with Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee, who's back from paternity leave. There's things you can do. And the match between the American Made and the War Raiders was really goddamn good. And I actually kind of dug the fact that it ended in a disqualification because I wanted to see more. I wanted to see this storyline unfold more. And if I had to just finish right then and there, I would have been, I wanted to see more. Now we get to see more. This WrestleMania graphic is peak. I love this. This might be one of my favorite WrestleMania graphics that I've ever seen. Everybody has a different type of card. This is awesome. Put some respect on his name. He's great at his job. I mean, from a wrestling perspective, this guy is just unbelievably good. I know people want to say that he gets guided through his matches, he gets carried. Look, to me, it always takes two to tango, and this guy knows how to tango pretty goddamn well, if you ask me. Every time he has a match, it's always really good. I like, there's not a bad Logan Paul match, and he's worked obviously with some of the best that can make him look good, but Logan Paul does a pretty damn good job of making himself look good too. Still, even though I think he's fantastic, please, not Logan Paul versus Cena, please. All right, folks, thanks so much for watching this episode of Hot Takes. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, get out of here.